Hello, welcome back to our 10th episode of Grumpy Retro Gamers.
10th episode of the two Grumpy Retro Gamers. I can't believe it. It feels like ages, you know, like over 2 months.
Yeah,
it is.
It's been over
2.5 actually. We're counting.
Well, yeah, I mean, last week we looked at Worms Armageddon, didn't we? N64.
We did.
Yeah, and we're finally getting our mitts on the PlayStation 1, and we're getting whooped by Crash Bandicoot 3.
Christ, he wants out.
Can we skip this?
I think you probably can, yeah.
It was on a bit, didn't it?
Seems a bit self-important, doesn't it?
Right. Well, let's find out by our personal ratings if this game is actually worth going back to.
Okay.
Tell me a little bit about it.
I can tell you a little bit about it. Right, so third in the series of the Crash Bandicoot games, created by Naughty Dog. This particular title, being called Crash Bandicoot 3 Warped in Europe and Australia. In the Americas, it was actually just called Crash Bandicoot Warped, so it didn't have the third entry at all. I think that goes the same with the second game as well. It wasn't actually called Crash Bandicoot 2. It was, it had its subtitle, Cortex Strikes Back or whatever. It might have been. So yeah, created by Naughty Dog. Now, Naughty Dog might be familiar to some of our younger viewers, thinking, oh, I've heard that name before. And indeed you have. They've gone on to create things like the Uncharted series of games, which are massively popular to this day. And this coming summer, Crash Bandicoot returns to the PlayStation, his rightful home, for the Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy.
Oh, right.
Yeah. That is out in the summertime.
Nice.
Yeah, so 1, 2 and 3 on the PlayStation 4, remastered, so they don't look like this.
It'll be grainy like this is.
Indeed. So this particular title here, released November the 4th of 1998 in North America, and it was released in the December of 1998 in the rest of the world. So yeah, there's not much translation or anything like that required to get this game up and going. Yeah.
It's actually loaded pretty quick.
It has. This particular title, I think, pushed the PS1 as far as it could possibly go as well.
Yeah.
If you look very closely at the graphics of the game, now along the walls and stuff like that, what you get is commonly warping with the textures on the PS1, but this doesn't actually do that, which is quite an incredible feature for this, because the N64 was renowned for not featuring texture warping and subsequent consoles after the PlayStation 1. But the PS1 and Saturn were absolutely notorious for it. They would have glitching in the graphics, warping in the textures, because there wasn't really much to play with at the time. But Naughty Dog found a way to squeeze every last little bit of power out of the PS1. Rumours were at the time, I don't know how true these were, but there was, built into the later development kits of the PS1, there was a scalable meter which would tell you how much of the processing you've used. So you could just get that little tiny bit of extra juice out of it.
Nice,
yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's surprising for the amount of time they took to make this game.
How long?
It was like 10 months or something.
10 months?
Yeah, 10 months to make this game.
Right.
Yeah, so I think it's pretty surprising.
Okay, do we know what sort of budgets they're working with, or?
I believe it was 2 million.
That sounds about right, yeah.
Yeah,
dollars.
Dollars, yeah.
Yeah, $2 million, that sounds about right. Yeah, that's not really a great deal of money to make this sort of game, considering that there was 3 different new engines that were created for this game. You had 2 of your obviously wireframe 3-dimensional models, and then your driving mechanic, which was used in the game. And basically you had Andy Gavin was one of the people that was working on one of the new engines. You had Stephen White as well, who was working on one of the secondary engines. And you had Greg Homme as well, which was working on, I believe, the driving mechanic part of the game.
Oh.
So yeah, they really did rework this. So familiar Crash, but different.
Yeah.
He's bored already.
Yeah, he's
Tied himself up with a yo-yo. Very of the time. I remember when I was a child, back around this time, that yo-yos had come back into fashion again around 1998, 99. I was 3 back then.
Wow. Long time ago.
Yeah. Anyway, right.
Let's have a little spin, shall we?
Right, so Mike's going to take the game for a cheeky spin around the block to see what we're working with here and see if 2017 is still kind to Crash Bandicoot. I suspect it probably is going to be.
You reckon? I did have a lot of fun playing this game back in the day.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I never owned this. I wanted to, but I never owned this. I mean, even back then, it was a highly desired title, and yeah, me and my sister never got around to actually owning it.
I think the first time I played this actually, it was a demo for another game. Can't remember what game was though.
Oh right, okay.
Yeah.
I do know a bit of trivia about this though, that there is an input code on the main screen of this where you can unlock a demo of Spyro the Dragon, which is Insomniac Games' franchise back then.
Oh.
Yeah. There were also PlayStation Star Wars.
Do you want to tell the aim of this game out?
Right, okay, so basically you're in different time zones on this game. So, as you can see, we're in a medieval setting at the moment, and the game sort of varies as you go along. So you have your Middle Age, you have your prehistoric levels, you have Arabian levels, future levels, Lost Highway, World War One, Atlantis, Golden Age of Piracy, ironic for PlayStation 1, certainly, Great War of China. So there's plenty of different settings in the game, which I think only infinitely helps towards the immersion of the title itself. Now, some of these water effects are really impressive for the PS1. They're very easy to miss if you're playing this and thinking, well, you know, it's old, it's an old game. But the water effects with the reflection and stuff like that is something that the PS1 wasn't really renowned for in its day, but yeah, it's incredible what it's pulling off here. You can see into the distance everywhere, and this was noted in the reviews for the game, that being able to see so far into the distance without any fogging effects or pop-up, it was incredibly clever. Which I think it still is.
Yeah.
I mean, they've made PlayStation 1 software since probably about 2004, but nothing more impressive came, I think, after this.
So, I mean, obviously the first level was very basic, it's very easy to play. I think it just gives you like a warm-up of what you have to do, really, isn't it?
I like that it's spitting you out some lives as well. It's like, you're going to need these fellows as you go through.
Yeah, you really do. As you get on, it does get quite difficult.
I mean, our initial playthrough of the game, we did encounter a few problems when we were playing it. Underwater levels weren't really your turkey, were they?
No. Always hit the
No, indeed. But this game was immensely popular in its time and is widely regarded by people that still seek out PS1 software as one of the must-have games for the system, and I fully appreciate that. I have no problems playing this game. Some of the games that we cover, I think, oh god, you know, I don't really want to go back to play it again because it's probably not aged as well as I think it has. This, on the other hand, has. This just is fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
I'm actually at the end already.
Yes, you are, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Sony was so clever with the PS1 that even when they were faced with competition from the 64, later when the Dreamcast kick-started the next generation of consoles, to come out with software like this, and then you think, well, I don't need any other console because my games are still looking pretty incredible.
Yeah.
And I remember this, along with later titles in the Spyro series, also things like WWF SmackDown 2 as well, really showing off what the PS1 could do in its later years.
Yeah.
And when they released this little diddler as well, just masterstroke of genius.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, obviously, the PlayStation came out in 1995, but the one playing with at the moment, the PS1, came out in 2000.
It did.
Of course, got discontinued 2005.
Wait. 2005?
Yeah.
That is such a long run for a console, isn't it?
Yeah, almost 10 years.
That's 10 years in continuous
I think,
production.
it came out September 1995, discontinued March 2005, so almost made it, almost, but not quite.
Crazy. Only beaten by the PS2, I think, for continual production.
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
Yeah, that is crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, with its fifth gen console, I mean, its biggest competitors, obviously N64 and Saturn.
Yeah.
Why do you think this one was so successful?
Well, the little one.
Yeah, well, the PlayStation itself.
I think the PlayStation itself won the marketing campaign which Sony came out with. They unleashed both barrels when it came to showing off what this machine could do. I remember the early tech demos where you had Spielberg on stage saying, you know, I could create dinosaurs with the PlayStation 1, and you're like, you can't, mate, can you? They had this rolling demo, crummy demo of this dinosaur running around or whatever.
You must have got paid a bit for doing that.
Yeah, definitely. Sell out. But, you know, it's not as if Sega didn't get him on board, was it? But I think they did actually follow through to an extent with it. Early PS1 software can be a little bit crummy if you look at it, but the later stuff actually isn't as terrible as you would think, first looking at it. Like I said there, with the texture warping and the glitching in the graphics looking like a bowl of cornflakes with some games, this is silky smooth. This is, this is really good stuff. Really good stuff.
Don't forget, obviously, against Sony and Nintendo, they're quite isolated. With Sony, they're quite open to third parties developers, so obviously they've got a lot more games and stuff like that. So I think that's made the biggest success of Sony's career, really.
Yeah, it got a fantastic amount of support in the time that it was on the market.
Yeah.
They got Japanese developers on board, they got Western developers on board, small UK houses. Anybody that wanted to develop for the PS1 could.
Yeah.
And I think the only stipulations very early on were Sony of America saying that they didn't want 2D games at launch for the PS1. They wanted everything 3D, which, like it or hate it, and controversial as that decision was, I think it worked out well because they wanted to stunt out all this impressive software from the get-go, and aside from things like Worms and Rayman, I suppose, Broken Sword, those games came later. So we got them over here very early on. America's got them slightly later, once all that impressive 3D software started to show up. And the original Crash Bandicoot being very early on in the life cycle, just further proved that Sony could have a passive mascot for their console without actually having a die-hard one. Like, they didn't need Mario, they didn't need a Sonic, but they had Crash Bandicoot. Spyro was also very much seen as a mascot for the machine. Even like the Monkeys and Ape Escape and stuff like that, they just had all these franchises that kicked.
Pretty sure they crossed it over with one of the Metal Gear Solids, Ape Escape.
Yes, it did. Yeah.
Was it Snake Eater?
Yes, I think it was.
Yeah, that's quite interesting.
But that's the beauty, isn't it? Is that they didn't need their own developers, Sony, to do any of these games for them.
Yeah.
These development houses would happily do it. You had Insomniac, you had Naughty Dog, which weren't owned by Sony at this time, published by Universal Studios, their gaming branch, and even Namco creating Ape Escape, something like that. And was it Namco or Konami? One of the two.
One of them.
It was one of those two. Anyway, but they're all creating games for it. Metal Gear Solid is a very key title for the console as well.
Yeah.
But in my view, none of the games that we've mentioned before that have aged quite as well as Crash Bandicoot 3 Warped. I think that this title, really, in any showcase of the PS1, if you're trying to win a battle for whatever reason and say the PS1 was the king of that generation of consoles, Crash Bandicoot 3, just whip it out.
Well, I think back in, it was like 2001, 2002, it was known as one of the best selling PlayStation video games of all time. Yeah,
I think I read somewhere that it sold just over 5.5 million copies in its time on the market, and I believe it sold over 1 million copies in Japan, which was the first for a PS1 game to do that wasn't developed in Japan. So that's got the Platinum Award for that, because it was Western developer breaking the Japanese market, which was unheard of back then. Definitely, it's not as particularly easy to this day, apart from modern day developer marvels like Rockstar. You don't really see that much Western software massively breaking the Japanese market.
That's right.
Yeah.
Do you want a little go with this?
I'll have a little go at it. Why not? Yeah, I'm pretty good at it. So. Okay, right. So I'm going to do the level that Mike didn't like, and I'm going to go into the water level. Takes a bit of patience.
I really hate it on Sonic as well. Every time he dropped into the water, it's really irritating me.
But it's pacing. The pacing is absolutely perfect. You have these levels where you're running gung-ho, and these levels where you've got to pace yourself a little bit more.
Yeah.
I like the way that the apples fire towards the screen. It's really cool. It's a shame that this isn't on 3DS. Because that would have been really cool.
Would have been, actually, yeah.
I'm not sure whether the Crash Bandicoot franchise is actually owned by Sony. I think it probably is now. As you can see, there's all sorts of Perel as you're making your way through. Okay, right. You get the special masks which help you keep your progress as you're going through. If you get hit by something, then you lose the mask before you lose your self-respect.
Okay. I think in this one as well, you get some sort of jet-powered machine that you get to go faster on this one.
Oh yeah, you do, yeah.
Yeah. It's been a while. Oh, there it is. Look at that. It's just going to shoot everything.
Now they're done for. You know, I said you couldn't go gung-ho on this level? I lied. Do your best Phoenix Wright voice. Take that!
God. Don't think the ocean stands a chance of you, right?
No, I know. Off it goes. You do have to leave this, leave that behind there. Okay, so some clever parts of the game where you have to really use your reflexes, which you wouldn't expect really for this sort of game, but it does. That bit is quite difficult to try and get past if you don't have one of the masks to help you get through it. Shouldn't some of these sharks be endangered?
They are now.
They really are, aren't they? I didn't really get that many crates in that level.
No.
I was too busy shooting everything that was around. But that's okay.
Did you enjoy that?
I did. I really quite enjoyed that. It played absolutely fantastically.
The beginning video I thought was a bit grainy, but playing it, you don't really think about the graininess. You actually think it's quite a good game.
No, you're actually quite hard to please with this graininess business.
I really am.
Yeah, no, my eyes adjust so easily to this sort of stuff.
So when I look at like just cartridge games, N64 games, stuff like that, I see it as so much better.
Do you?
Really
smooth. Good. How smooth the graphics are.
Yeah, yeah.
So you are a man that likes a little bit of active fogging in your games. Get some Vaseline, smear it in your eyes, and you'll think you're playing N64. Controversial. Cut that out later. Yeah. Right. So basically, the game was graphically praised and met with critical acclaim as well, pretty much across the board for the overall game. Official PlayStation magazine in the USA awarded it 5 out of 5. It's got 91 out of 100 Metacritic, so that's basically public opinion, and it's 5 out of 5 for GamePro as well. So it is an impressive title, and it is commonly referred to as one of the best PS1 games of all time, and it's also ranked as the 8th best-selling PS1 game of all time.
Oh, really?
Wow. Yeah, it is. It is absolutely fantastic game.
That's overall good game, I guess.
Yeah, I think so. Solid. So I think probably we should look into our reviews of how we feel this game is.
Yeah. Right, let's do it. Sort of graphics.
Graphics for me for this definitely an 8.
8.
An 8.
I'm gonna go with 7.
Okay. Hard to please.
Let's go for sound.
Sound's an 8 as well.
Yeah.
I like the main theme tune. I like the music in the game. Sound effects all pretty solid. What about you?
Yeah, I'll stick to 7.
7 again. Hard to please again. Gameplay.
I'm gonna whack it up a little bit and I'm gonna go with 9.
A 9 for gameplay.
Yeah. What about yourself?
Gameplay wise, I'm going to stick at an 8.
You like your 8s?
No, I do. I think it's a very good game. It can get quite hard as you get on through it, so it's going to stick at an 8 for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Overall rating?
Well, I guess it's 8 out of 10 really, isn't it?
8 out of 10, 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10 for this game. As far as buying this game, you can pretty much find it anywhere. Local stores, eBay. Price, should we go with box first?
Yeah, well I think so.
Okay, for box one we found it as £20. This one in particular, in immaculate condition of it.
Yeah.
Book and everything, £20.
It is the Platinum version, which does make a difference to collectors. If you're just looking to play the game, the Platinum version is slightly cheaper, so factor in maybe another £5 on top for the standard Black Label version. Platinum version around £20.
Yeah.
This particular copy was loaned to us by the Once Gold Centre in Plymouth, which Very kind of them to do that. Thank you very much. We didn't have it in our collection. eBay prices. How do you feel?
They were varied.
Right.
It was like £20, £30. Some of them was 40.
Really?
Yeah, it's crazy. But unboxed, so we're speaking literally just the disc. I was finding that £10 to £15.
Christ, that's crazy, isn't it?
That is.
Yeah, I wouldn't fancy.
It's best off just getting the case version, isn't it?
Really wouldn't
Full
fancy.
boxed, everything with it. You know, if you find £20, ideal. So you don't want to get a disc for £15.
Yeah. I mean, we looked around various retro stores today to see, around Plymouth town centre, to see whether we could find the game. We found it in all three of our regular favourites. So
did, yeah.
The aforementioned Once Gold Centre, we found it there. We didn't check the other two Once branches. I'm sure there probably were copies there as well.
Yeah, we found it in Tech Outlet today.
We did.
Yeah,
Box
nice.
complete copy.
Yeah, lovely copy.
And we found a copy in Nerds as well, didn't we?
We did, yeah.
Yeah. So all three of these places have it in stock. All three have websites as well, so you can order it through them if you wanted to. Circumnavigate eBay, and I think they're all around the £20 mark for it, weren't they?
Yeah. So apart from the remasters coming out soon, if you really want to get it, I'll recommend the third one. It is the best one. £20. I guess you can't really go wrong. Yeah.
No, I think for that sort of money, that sort of entertainment, a PlayStation 1 console's cheap as chips these days. Well, get one for about £10.
Yeah.
So for the back catalogue of games and some of the extremely exciting platformers that are on it, I would say it's it is a bargain and well worth buying into.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So I think a couple of shout outs to people that we know and like. As our usual, Mikey Hay with his video logging on YouTube. Really quite enjoy watching his stuff, and keep doing what you're doing. That crossover will happen one day, hopefully.
Hopefully.
Yeah. So people that stuck with our episodes as well. You got Christian Pease, you've got John Robson,
James Chalmers,
and shout out to Spike as well, our friend Spike.
Oh, of course, Spike.
Yeah. No, that's it. I believe SPK Studios is his YouTube handle. So some interesting videos that he comes up with, also to do with gaming and various life around Plymouth actually. Yeah. So a very interesting channel to discover. If you've got a spare 5 minutes or so, go over there, check what he's up to, and maybe subscribe as well. Subscribe to us. That's great. Help the world go around a little more digitally. It'd be great if you could subscribe to us. Also find us on Facebook and Twitter. Our Twitter handles are @ForceLondon.
That's Mike Langerbeer.
And our Facebook page is MIC Films Entertainment.
That's right.
Yeah. So I think that really wraps up really where we are with episode 10.
Yeah, I mean they've got 8 out of 10, so we've got a pretty good score this time.
Yeah. Well done, PS1.
Yeah, check us next week. We might go back to an old console.
I feel that we're going to visit 16-bit somehow.
Yeah, a bit of 16-bit again.
Just I have a feeling.
Right, so I've been Michael Langby for this episode.
And I've been Force London for this episode also.
Thanks very much.
See you next game.